humidity of about 25%. Not a bad one. Yes, you could plan and move. Probably not with your mask, as not as bad as it was some time ago. But yes, indeed, you could go ahead and do what you have to do. Oh, by the way, yes, you can visit Abuja if you love to, because come and enjoy. What else can we tell you about it?
At this rate, we're going to be charging, the Federal Capital Territory Tourism Board for all of this publicity.
To brighten up your day, that's Indeed. The idea for all of this ones. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain. What's up?
Indeed, the sun is up already. We hope you are, and you're set to go. Good morning and welcome. I'm Maufe Ogunyusuf.
And you are welcome to the city of Lagos. Well, you can tell by right above, at the top of your screen, you can highlight them, and I really think that one is something that's very, very interesting. Good morning.
Okay, well, equally lovely scenery there in Lagos, except that you need to plan your movement over there before you leave the home or your house. Just have a look, make some calls, be sure that the road, wherever your route is a little free before you hit the road. It's pretty dark this morning. Hopefully it would have brightened up there in Lagos as well. So, not bad, I tell you.
Not bad at all. I hope the roads are truly like this in most parts of Lagos, because sometimes, you take a very tiny portion. Don't jump to conclusions by what you're seeing right now.
Okay? It changes every hour.
It does.
Or by the minute.
It does.
So, I mean, before the show ends, already we see people talking about the third mainland bridge closure. They think it's a headache, so they're going to divert their routes or whatever they have. So you need to look out for that and plan. Always plan. Okay, so this got a lot of tongues wagging. I mean, they say, man of the moment, at the moment, look at that. So, yes, indeed, Daniel Bola having a session with the president, and he eventually, of course, he spoke afterwards. And I know, you all know his antecedents, how before he left the APC, after the APC, he came to the PDP, and he was stoutly in the PDP and speaking. Of course, he was spokesperson for the presidential candidates, and then even up until how many days ago. But what does this picture then say?
There are no permanent friends in politics. That's what it says. Only permanent interests.
Oh dear.
Don't forget that he was a part of the APC just before let me say the twilight of the 2023 elections, just before things got very hot within the APC. I think up until the presidential candidate of the APC picked a vice presidential candidate, he was a member of the APC, and he left the APC based on, according to him, his personal stance that he couldn't support a Muslim ticket. That was the basis upon which he left. But as he's explained to reporters, we understand he says that it's like a flight, when everybody is in a plane, the president is the captain, the ministers are the officials attending to people in the plane. All we are all praying for is safe landing, and we all have to, support everyone.
Mr. Bola, go by train.
Whether you have a train or you have a plane, you must support the person who is driving it in the driver's seat to make sure that you have a good journey.
Maybe somebody else is in the train.
Yeah. But, I mean, I know that there will be lots of things to say, and there will be lots and rightly so, too, because, of course, Nigerians do not like people, switching from party to party. But I think that, we should get with the game. This is what it is. We are the ones that should now have our own interests and put it permanently in one place or the other. Ayo.
Well, guys, I'd love for our viewer to listen to what he said. I mean, but of course, you can go on channelstv.com to check it all out, what he said and his reasons. And that example that Maupe and Chamberlain just, discussed now about the analogy about, transportation. But what is interesting, and as you also, rightly put it, Maupe, is There are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. But, okay, maybe we should take a look, guys, and see exactly and hear what Mr. Boala said.
Some of his ministers that were allegedly reported to have, committed infraction. Instead of protecting them, he asked that the due course of law should have his own course. He suspended somebody without wasting time. That, to me, is impressive because it's about the people. Secondly, there has been this outcry that the government is bloated and the rest. Yesterday, he introduced a policy that reduced the cost of governance. And today, he told me it is just the beginning. There are many more decisions of government that will reduce the cost of governance. What have we been talking about as citizens? If you don't have personal grudge against someone, if it is on policy issue, when policies are going correctly, and what I'm saying apart from today that I'm talking here, you all need to visit my Twitter page. In the last few days, I have been expressing my surprise and appreciation to the president for the decision he's taking. So this is not about political party. And you need to know that, like I said, I was with him before I left. And I was doggedly committed to him. I told him today, I am committing to play my part to support your administration. And I have no apologies to anybody.
You are back in APC?
I have no apologies. APC is a party. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is my motivation. If supporting him will take me to APC, so be it.
Congratulations.
So what more? Need we say more? He says if it means going to the APC with this.
If it means supporting the president means going to APC,
yeah,
so be it. Well,
QED.
I think it's up to the viewers.
I think that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes.
I mean,
what do you think? Any surprises there?
No surprises, maybe not so much, because with a politician, you never can tell at any given point in time. A politician is this moment crying, the next moment laughing, so I really don't know. But, there is a conversation that has been ongoing, and that is that of the elite consensus. Can we, in any way, manner, shape, or form, induce that this is one step in that direction? In the first government under this Fourth Republic, the president of the day also had members of the opposition in his party. The president today, while he was governor, had opposition parties in his government. And President Obasanjo had opposition parties in his government. So this is not much of a surprise. Perhaps what is surprising many Nigerians is the dramatis personae. So is this in a way beginning to get us into that conversation of elite consensus that a number of people are talking about, which hopefully will help us, garner some support for Nigeria, not government, not state governments, not party, but Nigeria. I hope that this can be something in that direction, that we can begin to get, those who have the voice any and everywhere in Nigeria to speak for Nigeria and do something. Change the narrative, change the rhetorics, and speak for Nigeria. That's my take, guys.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the dailies this morning. All right, well, let's take you through some of the dailies here this morning, and we'll start with the Guardian newspaper. Anxiety as CBN sacks boards of Union, Keystone, Polaris banks. So, of course, there's a lot of backstory. So you see, these images perhaps point you to some, could be as a result of some investigations going on with the industry. I think this is a good opportunity to also highlight how they need to ensure that all the fraud going in there, because several people have complained several times about how some of these banks, some of the ones named here, people clone other people's accounts and use it to reach out to other people soliciting for funds or asking for all sorts of things, defrauding them. And those customers have written to some of these banks and nothing has been done about it. The fraud is still going on. So it raises a lot of questions about what they need to do to ensure that, because these fraudsters do these things because they've seen the system. They know that, look, it takes a lot for them to catch up with them. So they go ahead and do it. In fact, some even say, when they talk about insider trading, they even think that it's, well, we'll come back to this in just a moment. But this is a big lead story on the front page of Guardian here today.
Leadership has this. Obaze reports CBN wields big stick, sacks banks boards, cites compliance, corporate governance infractions, Union, Keystone, Polaris banks affected. Stories on page 4 of the paper.
The Nigerian News Direct has this on its front page. Some good news, we might say. World Bank predicts 3.3% economic expansion for Nigeria in 2024. That's the lead of that paper and has one rider. Warns of economic challenges in Nigeria, South Africa, others. Stories on page 11.
The Tribune focuses on the CBN. It says CBN sacks boards of Union, Keystone, Polaris banks. The same you also see with the Guardian newspaper. But at the bottom strip here, you see prospective core members now to register with NIN. Yeah, so we'll come to that too. But that is Tribune today.
Well, the Daily Times also has on its front page that big story. Emefiele, CBN sacks MDs, boards of 4 banks as Tinubu wields the big stick. It's interesting that they attribute this to the president, not the CBN. But that's what you're seeing right there. Boards of 4 banks as Tinubu wields the big stick. Union, Titan, Keystone, Polaris banks affected. We'll leave it there for now for the Daily Times.
Switch to Blueprint this morning. 2023 stewardship. Custom rakes in 3.206 trillion naira revenue, seizes 16 billion naira worth of items. That story is on page 6, has one rider, targets 5.079 trillion naira in 2024 to sustain anti-smuggling campaign. A lot of questions around this one. Is this encouraging or discouraging in any way, manner, shape, or form businesses? That's a Blueprint for now.
Observer, World Bank predicts slower growth for global economy in 2024. And then the writer here says, Anchor's prediction on high interest rates slumping trade. Big questions for trade associations and organizations which were put in place to let things happen. That's Observer.
Daily Times has, beg your pardon, Daily Independent has this one. Operators ask NICOM to punish claims defaulters. In other words, insurance regulator, do your job. That's what they're asking. That's what operators within the insurance sector are asking for. Don't, let those who are giving us a bad name be wielded out. Operators ask NICOM to punish claims defaulters, worried they are denting image of insurance sector. So that's right there on the front page of Daily Independent.
Leadership has the CBN story on its front page as lead as well, but there's an ascription this time around. Obaze report, CBN wields big stick, sacks banks board, stories on page 4, and has a couple of riders, cites compliance, governance, corporate governance infractions, UN, Keystone Bank, Polaris banks affected. Stories on page 4.
Okay, so one key thing that strikes me, guys, in all of this, we will look at the other one much later. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune here today, where it says, prospective core members now to register with NIN. We know that there was a hue and cry some time ago that if you're going to do JAM, you're going to have to do with NIN. If you have to get your passports, NIN. Driving license, if you have to go ahead and get all of that,
NIN.
So the question now is this. Why do we have to spend millions, if not a lot of money, to keep printing voter card every now and then?
Since everybody already has NIN.
Exactly. So what we should then be moving for if we're going to talk about electoral reforms, I hope the CSOs and the members of the National Assembly will pick this up, and political parties too. Let us now begin to vote with name. Period. That's the way we should go moving forward. No point wasting money printing voter card every now and then. So whatever other challenges may come up, we can fix it with the name. After all, you're supposed to be a Nigerian to have this, and you should be. So we should work that out. So since all of the agencies are going on with this one, let's move forward and make sure we have it.
Should have your correct date of birth, so you should be able to
update it. Whatever else we need.
Well, some people will say, what if you link it? I mean, the fact the voter card shouldn't be a standalone, because the fact that you have your NIN doesn't mean that you don't have a driver's license, doesn't mean that you don't have an international passport. It just double verifies that without this NIN, you cannot get these other things. So I want to believe that it should be the same for our voters register, that without the NIN, you cannot be on the voters register.
What this will do is, look that voter register, by the way, look, it is not exactly as it should be. Several people who have died still have their names on that.
Indeed.
So if we vote with name, you weed out all of that. We will now get the true figure of the population who are going out there to vote. We'll get accurate data, straight to the point. Because look at when they introduced, what's that last one they introduced? It skipped my mind because it didn't achieve what some people said it was supposed to. So when they introduced it, exactly, and then look at what happened. Confidence rose, people came through.
The last one you're referring to?
I can't remember myself.
Was which agency?
No. This last election that we had with the system that they introduced.
Oh, the beavers.
The beavers and all of those. Look at the
bimodal voter accreditation.
Look at
system.
states that normally will put in 2 million, 3 million votes. Everything got slashed.
Everything was
You
crushed.
saw the proper figure. Now you can imagine if you come up with name, it gives you the real figure of who is out there. After all, there's talk about linking name with BVN. Oh dear. So no point wasting money. We want to do voter card every 4 years, every 1 year. NIN is the way to go.
Indeed. Well, I think that the common denominator, whether they use the NIN to produce voter cards or whether they just use the NIN, the common denominator in this conversation is that involve the NIN. That is extremely important in moving forward and tidying the voter register at the end of the day. But let me take a look at leadership for you. I mean, this story, or something close to it, we highlighted a few days ago. It's a very small story on the corner of leadership newspapers. It has this: 11 drowned in Rivers boat mishap. We had highlighted the fact that 5 people died, I think, during on their way back from New Year celebrations or Christmas celebrations in Anambra State, owing to a boat mishap. And we highlighted the fact that, boat mishaps seem to be claiming more lives now than a number of diseases. It seems to be claiming more lives now than even road accidents at this rate. And they're claiming these lives in big numbers. Look at that. 11 in one fell swoop die in a boat accident in River State.
As if human lives don't matter.
As if so. Whilst it is that, we've made some progress, or while, there's controversy over who has powers over the waterway, I do not think that there needs to be any controversy over safety on our waterways. That state governments need to pay attention to regulating what happens on the waterways within their states at the minimum. If people are at least by the shore, because I want to imagine that safety starts at the shore. When a boat has gone to the sea or to the river, it might be way too gone. But the fact that people should have life jackets, the fact that the boats should be fit for use to transport people over the water is extremely important. We've lost doctors in Calabar. We've lost people in We've lost people in Taraba. We've lost people in Niger State as a result of boat mishaps. It's high time we pay attention to safety on our waterways. Yesterday, we were able to get the man who operated this boat, who narrowly escaped with his wife. It turns out that he lost 5 children in one fell swoop in this accident. He said he was trying to help people who were coming back from the Christmas holidays in the Riverine area who had no money. And at the end of the day, you know, he lost 5 of his children in the process. A
Wow.
really heartbreaking story. I think even the River State governor issued a statement condoling with him, but it's something that we can certainly walk towards. The picture also caught my attention, just in case you're wondering if it's possible for leadership newspapers to flash once again. That picture there, you see the governor of Lagos State and his deputy, and also the daughter of Lagos billionaire Mr. Femi Otedola, when he donated ₦1 billion. Yes, you heard right. ₦1 billion to the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. And they're encouraging other people to do so. Maybe it's something that other states too can emulate, given how big an issue security is for all of us. Let's leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Well, thank you, Mokwe, for highlighting that issue concerning the boat mishap in Rivers State. And I saw that news yesterday. And by the way, you can go back to channelstv.com, our YouTube page. You'll be able to find our news at 10. It is right there that you'll find that particular story Amalpa is talking about, and the interview with the man. Of course, the man himself is distraught, and he was only trying to help and all. So, there are many questions about that. Let's just hope that there's some form of investigation and closure that the people who are related to these people can get. My take this morning is on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper today, and it's talking about no positive outlook for manufacturing in 2024. Guess who is talking? The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. And what reasons are they giving? They're giving reasons along the line of the economic condition that we find ourselves, and they are saying that the envisaged recovery only based on deploying policy stimulus that are supported by some form of domestic growth driven by export-focused and offensive trade strategies. And I'm at a loss, particularly for several organizations, several businesses whose employment status is on the line. Look right under the picture, that particular story. Right under that story is ILO predicts rise in global unemployment in 2024. So if there is no positive outlook for manufacturers in 2024, according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, what exactly are we likely looking at? I want to believe that this is something that all of the people in charge of our economy, both at the federal and state levels, are looking at critically. Don't also forget that in this mix, we have micro, small, and medium enterprises who also manufacture one thing or the other. Yes, I don't know what docket you want to put water production, but hey, it is part of the mix, if you ask me. So if there is no positive outlook for manufacturers in 2024, one of the risks associated with that is job losses, a rise in unemployment, and God forbid that more businesses will leave Nigeria because of these harsh economic circumstances that people might find themselves. So it's something that I want to believe that the authorities are aware of. They have also predicted that there's going to be some rise in subsequent years to come. The World Bank is predicting something and also saying there's slower growth at the same time. So I don't know. It's something that I hope that we're giving attention to. Guys?
Just for me, I had already spoken about this Guardian story on one of the paper where they're talking about the sacking of the boards of Union, Keystone, and Polaris banks. I don't know why we get this every time you have a new CBN leadership. There's always one thing or the other about whipping some of these banks in line. So one wonders in the first instance, why do they give room for these kind of things to happen? When the last government came on board, many thought that it will not be business as usual in terms of how they conducted themselves. But now look at the kind of stories you hear, the kind of sleaze and all what that went on under the watch of the last government. And then they came up with BVN and made it almost as difficult as can be for you and I to function without the BVN. Now look at this. CBN comes now and then says, look, by April, if you do not have a BVN, you're out of business. And so look at that. The amount of people who had enrolled in BVN rose from 57 million to 60.3 million. Look at that difference there now, 3.3 million. So how were these other people operating without BVN all the while?
3.3 million people.
And counting, because that's just in this short space. Because they are talking about those who were operating without BVN previously, and nothing was done about it. So how do these things happen? Is that the laws are made for the common people, that the big folks can operate and do things without registration? So it's a lot of questions. So they need to do something about all of this.
They really need to. Well, I want to take a look at the story on the front page of Daily Independent. Well, we had seen it earlier. The lead story right there. Operators ask NICOM to punish claims defaulters. I do not know why it is that they have to call on the regulator to do what it needs to do. Because if you are, this is basically what we're talking about. You spoke about the CBN just now, and how, we're seeing these whipping in line by the CBN, very reminiscent of what happened in 2009 with Sanusi's CBN. Now we're seeing operators in NICOM. In some other countries, the insurance sector is bigger than the banks.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been trying to grow our insurance sector to, get up to that place where people, can't do anything without insurance. Your house is insured, your car is insured, your life is insured, your health is insured, and it's one of the ways that the economy grows, and that will only happen when there's confidence. So if insurance, people get to buy insurance and then they finally have to claim their insurance because they're in need of it, and the insurance companies are not forthcoming, that should be something that should worry the regulators. It shouldn't be operators who are now calling on the operators or the regulators to, say, punish those people, they're giving us a bad name. I think that the operators should, the regulators should be up and doing. So while we're seeing some activity around the CBN and there's a lot of focus there, NICOM can do so much more. And I want to believe that they would take up the challenge, especially looking at the fact that it's on the front page of a daily this morning, to also say what it is that they intend to do within their own sector, especially as we're entering a new year.
I'm tempted to say that when you go to for your registration for vehicle or driving, how much do they pay now? Is it 3,000 or 5,000 naira? It's almost like free money.
Indeed, because
the insurance part.
Do we claim it for anything?
Nobody has ever thought about it.
The only time I actually go and claim anything is when I know I have a comprehensive insurance, and that ought not to be. Even health insurance, when you do health insurance, the kind of service you get because you have an insurance is really appalling. It is horrible. The difference between someone who's paying out of pocket and somebody who has health insurance is stark, and that's because of how hospitals think what they think about insurance. So, I think that the regulators really need to sit up.
Imagine if a state has about 10 million registered people who have gone to get license to be on the roads or to drive. So if that 10 million, I need to pay 5,000 naira for insurance. Multiply that. Where does that money go?
Big question. We need to ask questions of it.
All right. We're back in a moment, everyone. Stay on with us.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Ideological. I resigned from the party yesterday, but I have no grouse or guile towards anyone. It is purely and solely on an ideological basis. I've been in politics for over 40 years, and my political lineage or leaning and pedigree is towards free enterprise and liberal democracy. We did, in fact, go into Labour Party just as a special purpose vehicle so that our presidential candidate, our flag bearer, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, could find a platform on which to contest the elections. We had hoped that if we won, we would have had to sit down with the Labour leaders and find a common position, because neither of us is a Labour person or a leftist. But it was expedient for us at that time to find a platform, and we did find one. And I have been particularly very respectfully treated. I've enjoyed my stay in Labour Party, but because of these ideological differences, I had to resign. But I wish the party well, and I also wish my principal, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, every success in his future endeavor.
Okay, welcome back. Well, yes, indeed, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo joins us here this morning, spokesperson of former presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, by the way,
Nigerians.
I was talking about 5,000 naira for third-party insurance. No, I've been corrected. It is actually 15,000 naira for third-party insurance. So multiply that by, say, if a state has 10 million or 15 million people who have registered. That's how much we're talking about. Who will cancel that money? What happened to that money? Because I know you don't even bother. After you register, you pick and just say, please, let them carry their wallet and go. You don't do anything with it. Where does the money go?
And when you I think the most annoying part, Chamberlain, is that when something happens to your car, nobody knows when you actually claim that money. People still find themselves fixing the cars. Because if we know that insurance truly works, especially the third-party insurance, whenever it is you find car mishaps on the road, we shouldn't see people coming down and fighting. Yeah. It should be a case of I know I have at least third-party insurance, it should be able to take care of fixing your car. It's
just that these days, when that happens, you first of all think, what can 15K do now with this accident?
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work. It's the minimum you pay, but whenever it is that something happens, there should be an allowance, within which you should be able to fix your car.
Yeah, but third-party insurance cannot do much for you.
We should speak with them and let us even know what 15,000 naira covers. What does it get you? The problem is we don't even know.
That's a lot. Mr. Okonkwo doesn't pay it. I think it's with comprehensive insurance. So that's why he's surprised. What are these people talking about?
The comprehensive family, is that correct?
Well, basically, the third-party insurance is meant to is meant to take care of the liability of the third party. Mm-hmm. In other words, if I'm involved in an accident with you, the insurance is to take care of your car. That's why it's called third party.
Yeah.
Now, insurance is the business strategy where the fortunate helps the unfortunate. So it doesn't mean their liability is going to be restricted to 15,000.
Indeed.
They ought to take care of the car. That is why you pay, whether you have accident or not. So the accumulated money, when you become unfortunate, they ought to take care of it.
Wait, doesn't it elapse after a year?
No, that's what I'm saying.
So you just pay it every year?
Yes.
So what if you pay for 5, 10 years?
Without having any accident, it's their money. That is why they would have to come to your aid to take care of all the liability, not just the 15,000. So the fortunate pulls money together to help the unfortunate.
I like what they say. Test the law.
Exactly.
Go there. Go out there.
Exactly. Thank you for that clarification.
No,
that's why it's good to have lawyers in the studio.
I actually read business administration before reading law.
So you see. Okay. Now, another lawyer was in the villa yesterday. I'm sure you must have seen that picture as well. Because he was there, and of course, but wait a minute. If the president calls you, Mr. Congo, won't you go?
In Nigeria, after seeing that picture, I think everybody is a suspect, including me.
Oh, dear.
It's just that I've not had enough evidence to convict myself. There's nothing wrong in seeing the president. You don't say no to a president. But there's something wrong when you psychophantically make a 360 degree to all the principles you say you hold dear. What have changed? Now, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He has the right to command me to come and see him. I would not have a choice in it, but I would have a choice to what I would say. I would have a choice to my demeanor when I had finished seeing him. What he cannot command is what I would say. But if he says I must see him, I have to see him. He's in charge of the security of myself, including me. You have to respect the office of the president. From where I come from, there is an adage that when you're giving a message to the king, you can deliver the message. But when you're told to go and carry the king, you cannot go to carry the king. So it is really very pathetic.
In other words, they may say politics is a game of interest. Your brand of politics doesn't accommodate this kind of interest.
The game of integrity. You're driven by what was your intention when you decided to join politics. I couldn't have left my comfort zone as a movie actor, a pioneer one for that matter, to come into politics and begin to be psychophantic. What else do you want to give me? Fame? Fortune? I believe before you get into politics, you should have minimal of all these things so that you wouldn't be thrilled by them. I would prefer to be called Kenneth, the servant. There is a need that you have to live your life in service of God and service of humanity. That should be the only force that should drive you into getting into politics. You said you didn't like Muslim ticket. You left on your own volition. Has the Muslim ticket been solved? If you are talking about corruption, there are two beautiful achievements this government has achieved since they came into power. Give it to them. And that is consumption and corruption. So, would you say these things have been addressed? What would be your reason for getting into the ruling party? How can you convince people that it is not because of the quest for power and quest for money? You should be able, whenever you want to make a move, why do you want to make the move? It is not the move that is the problem. Even in court, even in judgment, they'll tell you it's not the ratio that is the problem. What was the reason for the ratio?
But, yeah, okay.
Well, I was just thinking, my mind was was traveling quite a bit because, you know, you've said a lot of things. You've talked about integrity. You've talked about even your own motivations for moving. First, for joining politics, I mean to say, first I was just wondering, and this is just an aside, you know, whether or not it is not possible to be a movie actor at the same time be a politician. Are there two things that are, you know, mutually exclusive?
No.
So you could still have continued in your career?
Absolutely. But you see, most of these jobs are jobs you cannot delegate. As an actor, I play the lead 98% of the time. Mm-hmm. I'm expected to come first. I'm expected to go last. Serving the people is a full-time job. You can be called at any time. If I leave the movie set, everything will stand still until I come back. So at a certain point, I was combining both. And when I saw that I was getting deeper, and both are going to suffer because you can't delegate either. And being a perfectionist, anywhere I am, I want to give my best. One has to give way.
I see. Okay. So let me come back now, because you have also been a member of the APC. You defected from the APC to join the Labour Party. And I do not know what it was that made you join the APC, but I want to imagine that when you leave a party, you know, for whatever reason you leave a party to another party, the people there do not automatically become enemies, do they?
First of all, I'm always not very comfortable with the word defection. I resigned from APC and I joined another party. You defect when you move from a party to another. Let's say you are a member of the National Assembly. And in Nigeria, you must be a member of a political party to hold any office. Mm-hmm. So there won't be any chance for you to resign. In that circumstance, you can defect. Good. But when you resign and join another party, that's not defection.
Okay, because you're not holding any public office.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, well, but I think the point I was trying to make is the fact that the people you met there, yes, some of them are people that you would have made friends with.
Till today, they are still my friends.
Exactly. So
it has nothing
how does
to do
it work then?
In APC.
Yeah, how does it, I mean, how do you manage such relationships?
Oh, beautifully well. When you relate on the intellectual plane, there's nothing personal about it. You can be entitled to your own opinion, but you cannot be entitled to your own facts. So when you are honest and you put the facts on the table, everybody says it. You may be surprised that Nigerians know the truth. They simply don't have the will to implement the truth. Those people that are running to go and shake hands, they know the truth. Because it was the truth purportedly that made them to leave the place in the first place. So if you are going back to the same place you left, purporting on the basis of truth, you better be able to convince people that there is another truth you have discovered that is non-existent. Okay, so it doesn't make you enemies at all, okay, but it makes you to differ.
Okay, so because a major defection happened from your party, Labour Party, to, well, I do not know that Dr. Doyo Kukwe has entered in any other political party.
That's why you wouldn't use the word defection.
Exactly. Well, so maybe
major resignation.
A major resignation. Let's just use the word. Let's use your term, resignation. No, but a major, you know, leaving of a party happened within your own party. The former DG campaign manager of the Peter Obi and Dati campaign organization, you know, resigned from the Labour Party. And he gave his reasons. He says it was on ideological grounds, that they had left a party, the PDP, a bit in a hurry, almost, and they were looking for a special purpose vehicle. And they found the Labour Party. For them, it was just a vehicle. The ideology, according to him, didn't quite sit well with them, but they figured, you know, after we get to office, we can always figure that out. It didn't quite work out. And now this is where he is, and he's finding that he's unable. He's not exactly a leftist. That's what he said. And he doesn't think that he believes in market principles. So he's resigned from the party. But it doesn't appear that the Labour Party is saying it his way. They think that he has something up his sleeve, and that, this is about politicians not being truthful. Why do you think the Labour Party is quick to reach a conclusion like that when he hasn't exactly joined any other party?
Well, first of all, he has the absolute right of freedom of assembly and freedom of association. It is his fundamental right. So I respect it, and I wish him well. Now, I wouldn't have had anything against it, but I have reservations on the reasons he gave. I must have to say that word, special purpose vehicle, I always cringe when I hear it. Because when we were in the process of campaign, I remembered one tape that was exposed by one Michael. And he said special purpose vehicle is the vehicle that politicians use to siphon money in the name of consultancy contract award. So I am uncomfortable with his choice of words. If you wanna ask me, I'll say it's ill-advised. Because when you say ideological differences, it was existing before you entered the party. Could it then be that you are an opportunist? Because you said, and I'm talking about what he said, the only reason you entered was to go and contest the election. And the question is this: if he had gone into the election and won, would he have remembered ideological differences? That is why you are an opportunist. That is why you have portrayed yourself as an opportunist. So your whole idea is to go in and win election, not ideology.
Was there any consultation within the party? Were you aware of any before he made that decision?
Well, I know, saying what I know, that immediately he stepped down from the DG, I can say it with every degree of responsibility, that he constructively had left the party, because I wasn't aware of any other interaction he had with the party. I wasn't aware. So I think he just verbalized it. So that's all I can say about it.
But why do you think he left, though?
Well, you wouldn't have been asking me when he wrote it down in his own resignation
you said
letter.
You didn't quite agree
with the wordings
reasons
of his letter.
Yeah, so I'm asking, what do you then think is the reason why he left?
No, I am saying I differ with his choice of words. I'm not saying good. He said it's his reasons. And I'm saying I differ with it. There was nothing about him when we were campaigning that showed me that he entered into this just to win or lose election.
Okay, so if you were in his shoes...
That was not my opinion.
If you were in his shoes, what would you have done?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
My goodness. What would I have done if I wanted to resign? If I was in his shoes, at his age, I would be thinking about how to go and stay with my grandchildren. Maybe. If I believe, because he has sampled all the parties, and he said he's a rightist. I wonder which party in Nigeria now has a clear ideology of right or left.
So it's interesting you say that, because, I mean, only yesterday, a colleague of mine, on the sister program, Politics Today, interviewed Professor Patutomi, and on his mega party plans. Professor Patutomi is no stranger to you, and he was talking about the state of political parties in Nigeria and how, parties do not exactly have ideologies, and that's why we see these defections or resignations, if you prefer. Resignations.
That's why I'm surprised.
And he was talking about how in South Africa, the ANC, how party policies, government policies are discussed even at the ward levels. So when politicians have this thing about, you know, other people having, yes, there's some politicians who have said, look, I'm in this political party. I don't intend to leave this party. I don't care how it does. This is going to be me till the day I die. There are politicians who have said that. There are politicians who have said it, and we're not quite sure where they are. But there are politicians who have stayed true to themselves. Let's put it that way. And there are those who say, look, I agree with this party today, but I see that it no longer fits with my ideology or what I personally believe, and I move to another party tomorrow. Do you think that those politicians should be condemned, given the fact that you have just admitted that there's basically no ideology to, you know, a number of political parties in Nigeria?
Good. I did not say there is no ideology. I said there's no clear-cut ideology. And then people mutate according to different reasons. You will see a president who will go in and he has a different ideology from his party in Nigeria. And the party will become confused. APC, for instance, if you read their manifesto, you'll be so thrilled. And if they had followed the manifesto, there wouldn't have been any reason they wouldn't have achieved their objectives. They talked about restructuring. They talked about state police. They talked about 1 naira to $1. And if they had followed those steps, they would have arrived at the decision. Then a president came in and said, sorry, I don't even know what you're talking about. So there is no dedication. There is no determination. There is no discipline. When you don't have this, sorry, you cannot have consistency in creativity that will give you the objectives that you want. So it is in a state of flux. That's why when I hear somebody saying ideological differences, which one? So what we have in Nigeria now is that you identify a politician that you believe has the commensurate character, competence, and capacity that you know can generate the ideas that can solve Nigeria problems, not the issue of party. Because you have to establish party discipline first before you can say the party can, impose its will on its elected members. That we don't have. When people are elected in Nigeria, they become leaders of the party. And what the party had in mind electing them becomes secondary and subordinates itself to their majesty. So because of that system, it is better if you're looking for a new Nigeria, for instance. That's the only reason we entered Labour Party, to identify the politicians that have these qualities, irrespective of whatever they have in their manifesto. Recall that when I was the former presidential spokesperson, I did tell Nigerians, please ignore whatever is in the manifesto. Whoever wants to be your president must come and sit down and tell you what he has for you, and you cross-examine him. In absence of that, whatever you see in the manifesto is just the beautiful, brilliant work of one professor somewhere that will end up in a dustbin. And quote me on that.
Ayo.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Well, Mr. Okonkwo, let me use legal language. I put it to you that you have looked at my script as an actor because you have taken from my script to say some of the things.
Particularly, I certainly love that script because it's an interesting one.
First, because I was actually going to ask
for plagiarism.
Don't worry, I won't sue you, I promise. But I was actually going to take you up on the issue of ideological politics, and I'm glad you mentioned it and Marco followed up on that. Maybe we should take that a little further. And I always make this reference for those who are not aware of where we are coming from politically in Nigeria. In the First Republic, we had such clear ideological political parties that it was difficult for anyone to just jump from one party to another. In the Second Republic, it was the same. I don't know, I don't recall the process by which someone would just jump from one party to another, confusing their own followers and all of that, and just saying, well, my people said. In the Third Republic, it was just two political parties, but it was also very, very clear. In these three republics, we had the supremacy of the party. We had the chairman of the party being the overall boss, and the president or whoever was elected was subordinate to the party. Now, that has greatly changed. The funding of political parties is equally as difficult because back in time, it was the people that funded the political parties by their contributions. How do we get back there? In a way that it's not just one leader of the party, as you said, who is an elected official that governs and rules over everything, as opposed to the party leading the charge of what they promised Nigerians.
The way we will get back to that is rule of law. In Nigeria, elected officers are the first malfeasance. They are the first culprits that break the law at will. The laws are there. Even in the party constitution, the laws are there. But once somebody catches any political power, he sees himself as being above the law. You can imagine, you catch somebody driving the wrong way, and he will boldly tell you, I am a soldier, and it's irresponsible of you to catch me driving through the wrong way. This is the mentality. If we can implement the rule of law equally on everybody, that is the only route to get back to that. The days you were talking about, people had shame, they had conscience, and they had the ability to maintain the law. They were just coming out from colonialism, which they spent almost 100 years under. And it has already been entrenched in their DNA that you obey the law or you pay the penalty. So that is just what is happening. Indiscipline, corruption, carelessness.
Okay, you are a member of, okay, let me just be clear. Are you a member of the Labour Party?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Can you give us an example of how it happens in the Labour Party, what things you think need to change? Because people hear more of the candidate, the presidential candidate of your party, than we hear of the chairman of the party or the other officials of the party. And then also talk to us about the funding of the political party, because that's another very, very intricate thing that determines, to a large extent, the ownership or leadership of the party.
Well, like I told you, do not think that Labour Party is exempted from indiscipline. You know, before Peter Obi came into Labour Party, they didn't have much of elected officers. So you can only test the level of their discipline after we have now had some members that are elected. When this government wanted to corruptly enrich the members of the National Assembly by giving them 165 million naira each of 100% imported SUV, the Labour Party kicked against it. The Labour Party said, no, we don't want this. Nigerians are too hungry to afford this. But not one of the elected representatives of Labour Party, not to my knowledge, came out to forcefully say, my party has said this, and I'm not part of it. That is what we're saying. And that's why I said, unless the party elected leaders subordinate themselves to the ideology of their parties, we will not get there. And that is why I'm saying, whoever becomes the president is very, very important. I know what Peter Obi would have done. He did it in Anambra State. He was going with only 2 or 3 vehicles. he would drive himself to the filling station, and they will fill the cars, and he will pay. He will bring out money as governor and pay for it. Whatever money he's giving out, he's supervising it. So if P2B, for instance, I'm just saying, had been president, then who are you to go and tell him he will spend 165 million naira to purchase SUV for you? And he will ask you, because that's what he will do. He will ask you why. And then you will tell him, you know, we have bad roads. You see, the reasons these people give is mind-boggling that they have bad roads. This government has been, the APC government has been in power for more than 8 years. And they're saying they have bad roads. They need solid cars in order to ply the bad roads which they inflicted on the people. Then P2B will say, okay, give me the list of those bad roads. You are elected people of your place. Let's repair the bad roads so that they can use made in Nigerian cars. So, but these people will say, no, let us acquire this machine. Of course, you know it's not bad roads. They just want to show off so that more of their picadillos can get attracted to them so that they will continue
Mr. Okonkwo, while a number of people might speak to the probity of what you are saying, there are those who would also see that as erroneous in a democracy, because the independence of the legislature is very, very clear, particularly at the federal level. So I don't know, do you think the president would have had a say or would have been able to say no to the legislature doing whatever they wanted, as opposed to the people taking them on by themselves? Because you know that they have a first-line charge. Do you think the president would have had any say in whether or not these legislators at the federal level did whatever they wanted to do?
First of all, according to the Constitution, the subheads of every expenditure is initiated by the executive. The legislature has the right only to approve. So you cannot be a member of the legislature and force it on the executive that you must drive SUV, because everything must have to be in the Appropriation Act. But then if you're a president, you cannot be driving the most powerful SUV and then you have the right to tell the Senate president, no, you can't drive this. So if the president, for instance, says, it is the policy of this government that every official of the government must drive made in Nigerian car, it becomes a policy. The duty of the National Assembly is to make laws.
Okay.
Not to execute them or administer them. So if the president himself is using made in Nigerian car, I'll tell you, no member of the National Assembly will ever even have the guts to ask for it.
Now, talking about the travel policy that the president recently came up with, of course, your candidate has also spoken about that one. But we had a guest in our studio yesterday saying that there are some things that the president cannot control. For instance, the president cannot control his own protocol. He can't control his own security. So in the name of cost cutting and all of that, do you think he was right? The senator we had in the studio yesterday saying there is nothing the president would have been able to do to say that his security personnel or his security protocol will not travel with him, but that the news is that the president wants the security in all the various states to take care of him. But protocol says he must be taken care of by specially trained people because he's the president of the most populous black nation in the world.
You know, whoever said that does not have what it takes to be an elected representative of the people. You're telling the president. If the president cannot control his own security, how can he control the security of all the 200 million Nigerian citizens? What a logic. It falls so flat. The president is in charge. When P2B was governor, they told him when you're traveling, large people will follow you. He said, no, I can carry my suitcase. If I enter the plane from the east, they will drop me in Abuja and I will ask the IG to send me like 2 policemen or 5 policemen. When they take me from the airport to the hotel I'll choose, I'll dash them maybe 5,000, 10,000. And they will go, and I'll just stay my 2 days and I'll come back. And he cut cost completely. He's still alive. Forget those stories. Was he not the president that now came out and told you he has cut down on the protocols and that whenever he's visiting any state, the state should take care of his security? So was he not the president that said it? Then is he not now controlling the security? So forget all this sycophantic, unnecessary, illogical reasoning just to attract attention and favor from the leaders.
So you don't agree? You don't agree that there are some things that the president may not be aware of, particularly concerning the protocols around him? Because there are those who say that there are specialties around such, that protect, VIP protection, they call it. That there's a special training for such persons, particularly that of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You don't agree that it is that special?
The guiding of the president is one of the topmost security issues in the world. Because harming a president has a lot of ramifications, including the destruction of a country. So there is a need for very, very special people to guard the president. There's no anybody that tells you it's not important, does not know anything about administration. It is very important, and I want the best hands to guard the president. That's not what I'm saying. That does not make you corrupt. You know, forget all these optics. I heard that the president came out and said he has reduced the numbers of people that follow him. These are optics. We're not talking about reducing the numbers. We're talking about reducing the cost. I will tell you the difference. If the president is serious that he has drawn down expenses in that field to the tune of 60%, let him immediately raise a supplementary budget so that that 60% will go into savings transparently. When you say you have reduced the numbers, it doesn't mean that you have achieved anything. Why did I say so? The politicians will know how to dye the money.
What would you be saying to young people right now? You also said something that there are some steps that the president has taken that are commendable and we should give it to him. But that's not the rhetoric that a good number of people hear. What should Nigerians be doing? Because at this moment, we have a president in office. At this moment, we have governors in office who, one way or the other, a number of people are saying they're not really cooperating with the federal government. How should that collaboration happen between federal and state governments, and what should Nigerians be looking out for to ensure whether or not those collaborations are working?
Well, first of all, the word commendability is your word, not mine. I never said there are things that they have done that should be commended. I said there are two achievements that they have made, and that is consumption and corruption. If you would commend these things, I would not commend them. I would rather condemn them, because we're talking about shifting emphasis from consumption to production. And what they have been doing since they came in is consuming, not producing. And of course, in a corrupt manner. Corruption is the abuse of public power for private gain. The dictionary will tell you that corruption means the fraudulent and dishonest conduct of people in power, specifically involving bribery, typically involving bribery. I don't need to tell you. That is what has just been going on. You can imagine a ministry called Special Purpose Vehicle. I think that should be the best name for the social investment program or humanitarian ministry. Can you imagine this ministry that is devoted purportedly to help the poor and the vulnerable? Okay, let us even assume, without conceding, that 585 million is meant for vulnerable people. And then you're spending 3-point-something billion naira for consultancy service award. When you hear such name, like I told you, it is the name politicians use to divide money among themselves and siphon it for their use. That's all. What are you consulting? Now, you're spending 3-point-something billion consultancy fee. One minister got 428 million naira of that money. And you're giving 4 states 585 million. Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Lagos, Ogun. In Lagos State, people are falling off and falling into Atlantic Ocean from the 3rd mainland bridge, committing suicide because of economic hardship. More than 20 million persons. Yet, you're dashing politicians 3-point-something billion, and you're giving 4 states 585 million. Unfortunately, that 585 million wouldn't even have gotten to them. As you can see, they say it was paid into a private account, which they are still trying to sort out whether the account is existing or not. Is that what you want me to commend? I condemn it with everything that is within me. And I will tell the youths of this country, don't ever learn to be like these people. Have conscience, have character.
One more thing before you go. This talk about parties, new party that Prof was talking about yesterday. Should we expect a new political party? Is Labour Party going to be part of it? What's your impression about it?
You know, personally, I believe that there has to be a kind of coalition. It's always advisable, because in any known democracy, 2-party system will eventually be dominant. And that's the only way the opposition can make reasonable impact. And when it is an issue of Nigeria, it becomes almost mandatory. Where even if you win, you have to defend, unfortunately, your victory. So there is a necessity for that
to happen.
But you see, if they don't start early, grooming people who will take over the party to be people of ideology, people of character, the same virus.
Would you be part of it?
Infected, the other people will infect them.
Would you be part of this if called upon?
Watch me and watch where I am going.
Where are you going?
To a new Nigeria.
Okay, because...
And whatever is going to bring it to come to pass, I will be willing to be part of it.
Maybe it's early days,
and in any circumstance that I see that every of the platforms are infected and infiltrated, I will do sit-down look.
Oh, okay. Because people wonder how that will play out. Because when he spoke about those other 3 persons, Atiku, Kwankwaso, Peter Obi, they all wanted to be president. So one wonders how that will play up in that mix. It will be interesting to see.
Oh, yes. If they only had been disciplined to the rule stated in their party constitution, there wouldn't have been any confusion.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Kenneth Okonkwo, former spokesperson for the presidential candidate of Labour Party. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, back in a moment. Don't go away.
To building modern and sustainable infrastructure that drive economic growth and enhance quality of life. By diversifying our economy and exploring new sectors for growth, will we create more economic prosperity for all. Education, sport, skill development, and job creation form the second pillar of our agenda. We believe that every deserve quality education that will equip them with the skills necessary to thrive in a rapidly evolved world. We will prioritize the revitalization of our educational system, ensuring that no child is left behind. We will restore the glory of Edo in spirit, that just so that our teeny young people will be able to showcase their potentials and make a living forth. We will ensure that our youth are empowered with the necessary skills to compete in the global job market.
Party and then to Labour Party, because I think you think you'll get a fair chance in Labour Party. We know it's not going to be a stroll in the park as well in the same Labour Party.
Well, that wasn't the reason I left the PDP.
Oh, okay.
We had issues in PDP, and some of us tried to resolve those issues. I guess the factions were not just willing to come together. I was one of those that believed that we could come together as a party and resolve the issues. So whichever faction invited me for any meeting, I will attend.
Considering how it's playing out, first, not just in the States, but even within the party, with same PDP, and with the kind of people who have put themselves up there, did you think you were going to have a chance against those candidates in the party if you vied for the same ticket?
Oh, sure. Well, I had seen the governor a couple of times, and I mentioned my intentions to him. And the first time he said to me, I can't endorse you, but I will be unfair to others. And I agreed with him completely. Then the second time I met him, asking, why were you not in the meeting, or why are you, because that day we were supposed to be meeting in my senatorial, why are you not in that meeting? And I told him, I don't think I believe in what's happening there. And then we rode in his car. It was going for a meeting right in Abuja here. Then I felt for him because, he took me, there was a tutorial on how we should build the new PDP and all that and all that. After all that, and I said to him, I want to change platform. I mean, it's so discouraging. Like I said, I felt for him. And he's like, no, you are going to spend too much if you go there, stay here. And I remained in the party. I was still working for the party, but I wasn't hearing anything. And there was no traction. I mean, as in trying to come together. So I felt I was just out there. I'm not able to bring them together. Yes, even though I go and meet the other group, the legacy group. Matter of fact, I was told that I was the main aspirant of the legacy group.
Really? Not Ugbeli, huh?
You see, now we do zoning. Maybe I don't really go into those issues, but I can. We must zone to North Central in this election. That is why I said...
Must, you say? Must?
Yes. We must zone. When I finished my second term in the House, I was to go for third term, or people encouraged me to go for a third term. I said, no. We fought against those that wanted to do third term when I came to Abuja in 2015. So I will allow it to go to the second local government, to that second the other local government, because I had represented 2 local governments. And that was the issue. And people praised me for that. Although my other colleagues came out and they ran. Also, it was their right to run. So I am one person that believes in zoning. So we are going to zone. But the challenge was, I told the leader then to say, okay, fine. You have said you will zone to Edo Central. But just say it. We want our brethren, so to speak, in Edo Central to know. It looks like they are gravitating towards the governor because he's walking the talk. Well, I can't give you all the reasons.
Or bringing somebody from the central?
He had not brought anybody then, but the feelers, people already knew he was working on settling, for one person. And they were moving. Even those that were very strong leaders in legacy group.
Is that person part of the ones we showed just now?
No, that was the one you showed just now is my brother.
No, I mean, none of them. The person you said the governor is working on, is any one of them here?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was it. So that's why I told him. I told him he needs to speak to that, because we are not beginning to look like traitors. If one person says, I'm going to come to your senatorial, and he has someone in mind, but he wasn't ready to do that. And I started asking myself, what am I doing here?
Oh. But from the look of things now, if you say it must be zoned to the central, but we have people who have also been here saying, look, central doesn't have the numbers. You have to play with the region, the sector that has the numbers. Yes, if you want to be emotional, you could go central. But if you go central and other parties go the other way, and they pull together with the numbers, this is a game of numbers.
Chamberlain, that's not correct. When they say they don't have the numbers, we have. And this election will prove it.
That you have the numbers.
Yes. For a long time, we didn't really have any huge state institution in the central. And we are like the Jews, the Igbos. If you go to any part of the world, you will see Esan people. Any part of the world, practically. The way they will tell you have Igbos everywhere. So, we don't stay at home. I mean, while I was in National Assembly, there are times we have opportunity to employ people. People will give me their CVs. Other times we'll be doing empowerment. Okay, that's okay, bring some names for unconditional cash transfer or something. We are looking for people. The same people I saw like a couple of weeks before. Graduates, they have gone to Benin. They're in Abuja, Lagos, searching for jobs. So why will a young graduate stay in the village if he's really ambitious? So our people are outside our senatorial. If there's an election today, I can tell you up to 30% of our people are resident in Edo South. You hear that thing of, so
that's why the South seems to be bloated? Is that what you're saying?
Well, of course, look at the three cosmopolitan local governments. The Odoredo, Oredo, Ego, Ikpobaoka. The South really, the indigenes there, don't really control that population.
So wait, what you're saying is the South doesn't have as much numbers people say they have.
That's true. Yeah, because it's cosmopolitan. Okay, now, will you believe that Labour will win election in Lagos, Tinubu's backyard, or in Abuja? That's just explain that. It's cosmopolitan. Even in that Edo South, somebody said you have up to 30% of Igbos resident there. But Edo South, the three local governments we are talking about, you have to win those three local governments to be governor of Edo State. And that's where we really get the vote from. But you have 4 other local governments in the South. But the cosmopolitan, that's where you have the Esan people. But even if you move away a bit, who are their local government, that's like going to Esan. It's largely Esan people again. But I don't want to go into this debate. But what I know is, like they say, Gafili Gadoki. You say a horse cannot run. Okay, there's a playing field. Let's see. Let an Esan person get the ticket, and I will tell you that person will be the next governor of Edo State. We must test this.
You don't think Ogbede, if he gets a ticket, he can't win it?
Ogbede is my friend, my very good friend. Well, but is that even fair? We have an Oredo person here. I'm sure they're even from the same political ward. He finishes and he goes back to that same political ward. And yet we are members of the same family, from the same father.
Which is what zoning is supposed to look after.
Exactly.
The fact that, those same numbers that support one political one candidate in a political party should support another candidate when it goes to another place. That's what should happen. But we're saying that, many times that's what ought to happen, but that's not what happens. People tend to cling to their ethnic leanings, so that even within areas that are considered cosmopolitan, where you think that you have cosmopolitan ideas and ideas, reigning at the end of the day, people are still cleaving to their ethnic cleavages. But let me take you up on, now that you're in the Labour Party. We just finished a whole conversation around ideology, around whether or not political parties have ideology. Why have you chosen, of all the parties that there are, why have you chosen Labour Party?
Well, it's really because of Peter Obi. If you remember, June 2022, when he left the PDP for Labour Party, I endorsed him immediately. I didn't like the money politics that took him out of PDP. And I said that in the interview I granted in my office then. Now, look, if he had stayed back in PDP, he would have been humiliated. He's a private businessman. He's a billionaire. We know that. He's been a governor. But should he go take a loan or take his entire savings and put it in that primary to win the primary just to become the candidate of the party? No. But I respected that. He went to a platform that didn't stand a chance. And then, we all remember what happened. So for that courage, I respected him. And he's somebody I've been listening to for a while. A man like Mr. Konko just said. that will stay as a governor, stay in the car and buy fuel and pay for it. I think even Chris Umba said it that whenever they have meetings in government house, he gives them cheap champagne. And Obi himself said when the top leaders, as a governor, want to come and visit him because the state didn't have money to offer them expensive champagne. He will say, don't worry, leader, I will come and see you. And I felt at that time, that was a kind of leader we needed in this country. Not the private jet flying presidents, not the ones that are used to profligacy of the past. We needed a frugal president. Because we can't be borrowing money and just be consuming it.
So that's the person, that's the reason you have defected to the Labour Party. But
one.
Yes. Beyond that now, you are now an aspirant.
Yes.
Hoping to be governor of Edo State.
Yes.
Well, you still have primaries to cross, and we see that you also have formidable opponents within the Labour Party who are also looking to, fly the party's flag. I do not know how it's going to work out in terms of, primaries, etc. I hope it is free and fair, and at the end of the day, as they say, may the best man win. But what do you make of your opponents? Are you happy about the quality of opponents that you have within the Labour Party?
Sure. And most of them are my friends, funny enough. The people say...
Everybody's your friend.
Yeah, because I relate with people. Yeah, I relate with people.
But they want your seat, that seat that you want too.
Yeah, it's not mine.
Or not.
It's there for
the tickets.
Whoever can get it. Yeah, but I mean, no hard feelings at all. We should all fight for it, win fairly, squarely, and then come together to work for the party. If I might just go back to the question you asked before about Labour Party. We're talking about ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have about 63 bills in the House and about 61 motions. They were all pro-people, speaking to issues, trying to address issues that affect the poor in the society. Even my projects, 99 projects that I initiated, about 6 that I met, that I fought for money, to continue them, all for the poor people. So, at heart, I'm working for the poor people. And that's what Labour represents. And they'll tell you, man, see the logo. You don't say dad is a family. You don't say dad, mom, and baby. What do we call it? Papa, mama, pikin. Yes, we are there addressing the needs of the ordinary people. So for me, Labour is home. But to come back to the issue of formidable opponents, yeah, the more the merrier. People used to say, but you have so many people even coming up from Edo Central. Why do you just bring 1 or 2 people? If that was the case, they would say, is it that you don't have anybody from Edo South to come out? How come you have only 1 or 2? So for Labour Party, I think the last count they say we're about 28 or 32. It's all good. It's all good.
That's the 2 aspirants.
Yes.
Have they zoned to any part, or they're leaving it open?
I don't know if they would do that. But like I said, you see, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Some people are already getting tired. And some people have gone about it the wrong way. But it's okay. Some of us have been here. And we know where we are now, what we ought to be doing. So, but it's okay that we are 28 or 32, doesn't really matter.
What difference are you hoping to make if you scale the hurdle to become a candidate of Labour Party and maybe eventually get the seat? What difference are you hoping to make in Edo State?
I would work for the poor and ordinary people. But people always forget that. When we talk about the big ticket items, ports, flyover, they are wonderful. Signature projects, they are good. But NBS says about 34.5% of Edo people are multi-dimensionally poor. That is still not good enough. So you have a situation where you still have out-of-school children. You still have terrible primary, secondary schools in the communities. High school without teachers.
In spite of the Edo Best program?
Well, you can visit. I represented a constituency. I'm not like a Lagos businessman. I mean, I lived with the people. You know, I built schools. I built primary healthcare centers. I renovated some. In my private capacity, even before I ventured into politics, like I said at the other time, I'm an accidental politician. I set up a foundation to do stuff for the people. That's why they told me, you have never asked us for anything. You are doing all this for us. Those you'll be voting for don't even do this. Mm-hmm. You know, so, that's how I became a politician.
So some of your opponents are Lagos businessmen.
Yeah, they are. I mean, people that I don't want to go into that. I mean, it's not time for that. We'll take them apart.
When the rubber hits the road, they'll hear it from you.
Sure. So when you don't know the people, how can you address their needs? That's what I'm saying. So I know them. I have lived with them. Most of our people are agrarians. They are farmers, subsistence farming. If you even go and check at the state, that's what we do. But we need food security. How can we secure our farms? How can we create access to these farms? I keep talking about give full autonomy to the local government councils. They will have their money that comes from the federal. 10% of the internally generated revenue of the state will be given to them. The ones that will not have comparative advantages in certain areas, we will collaborate with them as state to get them to work. When we do that, we can task the council chairman to ensure that they don't have anybody in the forest disturbing our people from going to farm and bringing out the farm produce. When you do that, food will be affordable in Edo State. Investors will want to come to a place where there is security. They don't have to pay too much on security.
Yeah, but there's a vigilante system already in place.
See, that's the problem with Nigeria. Now we are preaching, kinetic, non-kinetic. Have good schools, good healthcare centers in the rural areas and in the cities. Even the secondary healthcare, they should all be functioning. You know why? When you take care of those below, you don't even need vigilantes. You will have nightlife, and businesses will boom.
Well, Honorable, glad to know at least you have served at the federal level in the national legislature before. And this this issue that you raised around local government administration is quite telling. From what you know, what is the bane of local government autonomy in the states? Because we've had how many constitutional amendments we've had, and we've not been able to get the consensus of the state houses of assembly, members of the state houses of assembly, to agree to full autonomy of local government administrations. What, in your opinion, is the bane of full local government administrative and financial autonomy in Nigeria?
It's just the rascality on the part of the governors and nothing less. They control the state assembly. They control the resources of the local government councils. That's all. So because they have a joint account, that's the state and the local government. So whatever resources, whatever money that comes from Abuja is paid into that joint account. So the governors determine how much will go to the local government. And they make all manner of deductions. But what I'm saying today, whatever is due them as it comes from Abuja will all go to them. And whatever resources due them from the state coffers, we will give to them. Then if we have certain local governments that have comparative advantage over others, where we can also tap into the resources there, we will support them. We have to grow from the base. This idea of governors keeping money in the state and dictating what should happen and not happen in the local government, we want to put an end to that. The the governors will not allow the House of Assembly to function the way they should. I have served in the federal, I've served in National Assembly. I will also grant full autonomy to my state assembly and to the judiciary. Because if you are not scared, why do you want to control everything? As a governor, you have more than enough on your plate. So if you are not going to steal money, if you are not going to divert state resources, why do you want to control who is going to be the speaker and how the state assembly will function?
Okay.
The National Assembly are on first-line charge. Why can't we get that in the state assembly?
Well, a quick one here. At the end of the day, all of these aspirations and every conversation we're having is about politics. And from one of the questions that Malpe asked you, I'd like you to respond to this. Do you foresee a level playing field in the selection of the candidate for your party? Do you foresee a level playing field? Because politics will always be politics. So what do you see happening? Do you foresee a favoritism on the part of the party leadership, especially since you said that you're not even sure how it's all going to go?
Well, I can't be sure, but I can only believe in the process. I mean, we are all Nigerians, are we not? I can only believe that we will have a fair process that will also produce someone that can win the election. At the end of the day, you want to win the election. If we have a fair process that will produce a candidate for the party, we'll all rally around that candidate, and that candidate is the one talking to you now. And then the destination is Osadebe Avenue in Benin City.
So watch this space. That's what he's basically saying. Well, thank you for coming on this morning. Honorable Sergio Sogun is a governorship aspirant for Labour Party in Edo State. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
All right, we've got one more lap to go here today on the program. Stay with us.
Talking to the journalist today.
All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, indeed, as you've seen there, Laulu joins us this morning. Good morning, Laulu. Thank you for coming on here today. So, some decisions coming through from the government in terms of trying to see how they can cut the cost of governance. Does this really count as plans to cut cost of governance?
Well, I think one of the things that everybody has seemed to agree on is that we need to cut, the cost of governance, and I think that theme has been on.
Is this significant?
Well, so it's a good start, but it's just the very beginning of it. First of all, the announcement for the travel costs, is what it is. It's an announcement. It will have to require a diligent pursuit for it to have any impact at all. Because I can tell you that if care is not taken, the announcement can end there easily.
Is that what happened to the last government?
Well, this kind of stuff happens normally. except you make diligent plans to go down the layers of government.
So
okay?
specifically, what should they do?
So this has to be an issue. Just, I think it was Ken that mentioned it. There has to be a budget implication for it to say that, look, this is the amount of money that will be made available. That is how you can measure, indeed, whether you are making any cost. If you don't tie it to a financial implication, then you cannot indeed have any cost. People can play games around these things easily. That's the first thing. But I think it's also important, since you're talking about cutting costs, to say that, look, so the president has started well to say that, look, I'm cutting 60% of travel costs. It must have financial implication. But the bigger deal actually is in the in the prices that government gives or places on goods and services. That is where the main thing is.
How do you mean?
So, government wants to build a road. I think it was Chibisi Akande that explained this in a very graphic way. Government is building a road. This is the distance of the road. That's federal government. The state government is building the same kind of road. One is 90 million. The other is 84 million. There is a big crisis in the procurement aspect of governance, especially at the federal government level. So we have to look at those costing. It is the difference between the real market rate and the rates that government put on these prices is quite, it's too wide. And for times like this, those things have to be reviewed downwards.
Oh, so governments usually, they balloon their own costs.
Well, there are all kinds of arguments that people have given. I say, oh, well, before government pays, inflation is up, all kinds of mumbo-jumbo. The time has come for government, if we are really serious, we need to look at how do we price goods and services that governments pay for. It's a big deal, and the presidents must pay attention to that.
Who is responsible to ensure that those costs are not inflated when they see them?
It's supposed to be the Bureau of Public Procurement. I think that's one of what, they're supposed to do, but it can't be only them because to make it effective, this thing must start from the entire public service. The president must make it clear, if this is what he wants to do, that look, this is where we need to cut the cost, especially because even the federal government has a fiscal crisis as we are speaking. There's not enough money.
Why was there a challenge last government when they announced this kind of costs for travel? Eventually, most times, my colleagues came back and said, look, at the end of the day, it just didn't pull through.
It's what I said in the first point, that it is very easy to announce. So the chief executive can say, this is what I want done. Mm-hmm. If you don't have plans to take it from where you said it, take it down to the ministries, to the departments and the agencies, and if you don't make plans to ensure that it is enforced and punish infractions, swiftly. If all those things are not done, people are just going to go back to how they do business or find other ways to beat the system.
Mm. I'm just wondering, who do you think should be saddled when such an announcement is made? Who immediately has responsibility, to act on what the president has said?
It's everybody that is that has any kind of responsibility. Every minister, every chief executive of an agency, every director general, permanent secretaries, directors, everybody. It's not. Look, this is a big deal. If you want to cut costs, it's a big deal. It's not something that we will get done by just one simple announcement from the villa. It's a good start. I'm not missing that point. But it is much deeper than that. I would even expect that the president ought to take a deeper look, probably get a few relevant people together and say, look, how can we do this on a broad scale? Because that is what the problem requires.
Because I used to imagine, I don't know whether this is just in my own imagination, that perhaps maybe the director of protocol or whoever it was that was in charge of traveling, especially with the president's arrangement and the vice president, will be the one to ensure that, there must not be more than this amount of people following the president anywhere. It must not be this amount of people following the vice president. Anyway. I imagine that's how it should work. Is that how it works?
No, of course, there is a template that says that, so you have what they call the main party and you have the advanced party. So when the president or the vice president or even governors, at times even ministers travel, so some people have to go ahead, before the president or whoever is the principal gets there. So there is an advanced party. Okay, so there are people that will be in that advanced party. And then there is the main party, which is the party that involves and includes the principal is or herself. So if the president is traveling, there are people who will travel with the president, on his jet. That's the main party. So one of the things that we don't even know that we have not been told is that, so this travel costs, you just said that, so 20 people are going with the president. Does that include the advanced party?
Mm-hmm. Does that even include the security aid?
So these things, and I insist that, look, I must give it to the president. He has started well, but we must help the president and say, look, these matters require deeper contemplation.
Even the ministers and co should help.
Even deeper, we have to communicate it in a more comprehensive way.
Wait a minute. What about the states? Don't they have travel contingent too?
It's the same thing in the States.
So shouldn't they announce or follow suit with this?
Well,
so
the president has set a good examples, and we expect that the governors will follow suit. But even the work of the president is not done. This is just the very beginning of it. There has to be diligent steps to make sure that it happens. Don't forget that the devil is always in the details. There are still more details that we need to unpack and show Nigerians so that they can hold government responsible on his promises.
One of such is that they should then tell us, because if people are reading that it cost last time was about 39.1 billion for travel expenses, extra codes, this government, they should then tell us how much are we expected to save from this.
That's the point.
When we see these things, it helps.
And that's why I said that there is a financial implication. There has to be a budget implication. So now the president's spokesperson said that 60% cut, fantastic. We must make sure that when we get to the end of the year or somewhere in the middle of the year, you can come back and say, this is how much money we have saved from the travel cost. And that is when the president begins to benefit from the trust that people will then have for him going forward. And it's a very important thing for the president. People have to trust you. And this is a good start, but there is still a lot more to be done.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on, Lalo Akonde, former presidential aide. Before we go to your messages, this decision for information from the courts, the Supreme Court, the reserved judgments now in the appeal filed by Oladipupo Adebutu, who is challenging the majority judgment of the Court of Appeal that affirmed the election of Dapo Abiodun as the Ogun State governor. A 5-member panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice John Okoro, adjourned for judgment after the parties argued and adopted their processes. Now, Ms. Adebutu is asking the court to set aside the election because INEC had initially cancelled elections in 99 polling units and consequently ordered that fresh elections be conducted in those polling units. But the electoral body then went ahead to declare Dapo Abiodun the winner of the election, disregarding the margin of votes. Remember that principle. And now the governor had won the election with 13,000 votes, and 13,000 votes from the cancelled polling units, which were 44,000. So that's why this is going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the day.
Indeed, I think, tomorrow is indeed Friday. Yeah. And we know that the Supreme Court is also going to be very busy tomorrow, delivering judgments in 6 appeals, beginning with Lagos, Kano, Zamfara, Plateau, Ebonyi, and Bauchi states. So it'll be interesting to keep the eyes on the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the apex court in the land, for these judgments. We started this week with judgments to be given in Ebonyi, Benue. Yeah, Benue was delivered because the other party withdrew their suit. So we also saw what happened at Adamawa yesterday, despite the controversy that generated. The other party also, the SDP candidate, withdrew his suit. At least his lawyers did withdraw their suit. We've also seen a number of other states where judgment has been reserved. But Delta State, Plateau State, and a number of other states. Kano will be certainly one state to watch. But all of these judgments whichever one needs to be delivered will all be coming tomorrow, Friday. So Friday is going to be a big day, Chamberlain.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, you might thank God it's Friday, but it's still going to be big, notwithstanding. I don't know if do you have any message there with you? I know that there was some that came through previously.
Well, yeah, just this one, because we are completely out of time, Chamberlain. I'll take this one from Taufik Odetunde, who says, the way politics is being played in our country is laughable, as those on the other side of the divide would never see anything good in what the government does or bring any alternative to governance except negative criticism, praying for them to change and other positive contributions for the good of the people. That's from Taufik Odetunde. Let's close the program that way this morning, Chamberlain and Mark. And thank you for watching. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Dixon Eka, we also saw yours as well. Thank you for watching. I'm Mark Yusuf. Bye-bye.